and welcome back to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. This program is broadcast to you from Ratchamakani University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be bringing it to you in two parts. For the first part, we will introduce a certain topic about being an American living here in Thailand. It could be about food, travel, culture, whatever. We'll then take a break, and in the second part of the program, I'll get into more details and specifics and examples of that topic. All right, let's get to the program. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for An American in Thailand. Obviously, I am American, and I have been living and working here in Thailand for over 8 years. So I have a pretty good understanding of the differences between American and Thai culture. I'm still learning, even after 8 years. I still learn new things all the time about Thai culture. And I probably still do things I shouldn't do. For example, I was just visiting with my nieces and nephews from Laos, two of them, and they were little cute kids, and so I like to kind of pat them on the head. Ooh, you're not supposed to do that in Thai culture, especially depending on your religious beliefs. Different people are different. Some people don't care, and I don't think they really care, but I still try to make sure I do things the right way culturally. So that's something I do sometimes, and you're not supposed to do that. So I try to remember not to do it, but I still do it sometimes. So I'm still learning, still adjusting, even after 8 years, still learning about Thai culture. Also, when I call myself an American here in Thailand, some people get upset by that. I just saw another video on YouTube about that this week, where someone gets upset that people from the U.S. call themselves Americans because everyone from North and South America is technically an American. Why do people from the U.S. get to call themselves American? Honestly, it's just what we say. There's no other term for us. Usually what your nationality is based on the name of your country. So like Thai people from Thailand are Thai. People from Laos are Lao or Laotian. You can call either one. People from Japan are Japanese. Well, in the USA, we have a long name. The United States of America. So we have there's no easy word to just call ourselves. That's what we call. That's what we use. America is the last word in our name, United States of America. So we call ourselves American. I'm sorry if that makes people upset. People from other parts of North or South America sometimes get upset with that. So when I say an American in Thailand, yes, I mean someone from the United States. That's where I'm from. And I am not trying to offend anyone. Some people get bothered by that. I'm sorry. I'm not. We have no other name to call ourselves. That's what we're called. We're called Americans. Sorry. All right. So today's topic. The reason I explain all that is because America is kind of a big part of today's topic. Because what we're going to talk about today is something that's recent in the news. Now, as of this recording, we're recording this around the end of October of 2025. So, America, our president, was just here in Southeast Asia, actually in Malaysia. He did not come to Thailand, but he was in Malaysia. Our president, Donald Trump. And I don't often like to talk politics, so I'm not going to talk good or bad about him, whether I like him or not. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't like him, but that's meaningless. That's meaningless to our discussion today. What we're talking about is the deal between Cambodia and Thailand. And why this is relevant to the United States is because the United States played a key role in helping to negotiate that. So the U.S. was very much involved in that. So what we're going to talk about today in the first half of our program is pretty much just what the deal is. And then in the second half of our program, we're going to talk about whether or not it's a good deal for Thailand, or for America, or for Cambodia for that matter. Obviously, in general, when you just take a first look at it, obviously it's going to be a good deal, right? Because the two sides have stopped fighting. That's a good thing. But there are details in there. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about in the second part of our program whether or not it's a good deal. And honestly, what I think you'll find is that it's really not much of a deal at all. But it's also not terrible. You know, progress has been made. They've stopped fighting. That's good. People won't die. Good. But first of all, in the first part of the program, what is the deal? What is the deal that they came to? And again, the reason I talk about this in this program, being an American in Thailand, is that America was heavily involved in coming up with the deal. For example, this is actually, even though they signed kind of a new deal in Malaysia, it's really the same thing as the old deal. There's not really much new to it, except that they signed it, made it more official. It's really the same deal that they came up with a couple months ago. And that old deal, there was a lot of pressure by America put on Thailand and Cambodia because you may be aware that the U.S. president has put in a lot of tariffs on foreign countries, and they've been really high for a lot of Southeast Asian countries. In fact, Laos has one of the highest tariff rates in the world for the U.S., for when they export things to the U.S. Now, a tariff, for those of you that don't know that word in English, that's basically a tax that the company importing the product has to pay. Now, Thailand doesn't pay it. Cambodia doesn't pay it. Laos doesn't pay it. It's not paid by the country, which is something that the American president claims they do, which is totally false. It's paid by the Americans. When they buy it, the company will pass along that cost to the consumer. So if you're the consumer, an American living in America, not me, I live in Thailand, but an America living in America, they buy the product, they pay the tariff. It's basically just a tax. It's an extra tax. But the reason the foreign countries don't like it, because you may say, well, then who cares? Thailand's not paying it. Laos isn't paying it. Cambodia's not paying it. Vietnam's not paying it. Malaysia's not paying it. They're not actually paying the tariff. Why do they care? Well, they care because now the price of everything coming from that country for an American costs a lot more. So that American person might choose to buy a product from another country because it's cheaper. And so the companies from Thailand, from Cambodia, from Vietnam, from Laos are losing because they can't sell their product because now it's too expensive because of that tax. They can't sell their product in America. So now, what in the world does that have anything to do with the Cambodia and Thailand deal? What do these tariffs have to do with that? Okay. Well, they are related because the last deal, which is basically the same thing as the current deal, the one they just signed in Malaysia, it's almost identical. The last deal they signed, the United States put a lot of pressure on Thailand and Cambodia to make a deal. And one of the things that the United States used as pressure was the tariffs. The United States president said that they would increase the tariffs even more, and they were already very high, if they didn't make a deal. And so that's going to hurt the Thai and Cambodian companies because they won't be able to sell their products in America. America is the number one economy in the whole world. It still is today. For a long time, China started catching up. But the Chinese economy has struggled a little bit the last few years. So has the U.S. economy. But the Chinese economy has struggled even a little bit more. So they still haven't quite caught up. They're close. Huge economy. They're number 2. They're very close to America. But they also have a lot more people. Like 4 or 5 times as many people as America has. So per person, the American economy is still way bigger. Way bigger. There's no country on earth that's even close to the American economy. And so when America says we're going to put tariffs on you that are huge, yeah, it's especially for countries in Southeast Asia, which rely so much on exports. Thailand probably relies the least on exports compared to Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, Laos, because we have a big tourism industry here as well. But it still does rely a lot on exports. And so the tariffs are a big deal. So America came in and said, look, you either make a deal for peace or we're going to increase your tariffs. And so that's how the first peace agreement came about. And it's basically the same thing as what was signed in Malaysia. So, again, the details of the peace deal. What's going on? What is this deal? Honestly, it's not that much. Really, it's not that much. It's not as big of a deal as the U.S. president is making it out to be. The U.S. president loves to brag and say how great he is, and he's done this and that and whatever. It's really just a temporary ceasefire. In other words, we're going to stop fighting. There's no agreement on the border dispute. They still disagree on that. There's no agreement there. All that has been agreed to is we will stop fighting and we will withdraw what they call heavy artillery, like maybe that's tanks or missile launchers or things like that. We will remove that out of the area. And in fact, that's happening. There was just a news article this morning as I record this. I'm recording this right at the very end of October, around Halloween of 2025. I believe we will go to air with this in a week, so it'll be early November when this program airs. But as of today, there are reports that indeed Cambodia is withdrawing their heavy artillery from that area. Now, I believe because of the International Court decision, which went in favor of Cambodia, they're probably the only ones with heavy artillery in the disputed area because it's technically theirs. I think most of the Thai heavy artillery is actually on undisputed Thai territory. I don't think Thailand... I could be wrong about this. I don't know all of the details. So mostly, I think mostly this deal requires Cambodia to do something, and not Thailand. Cambodia has to remove their heavy artillery out of the area. And I think Cambodia is okay with that because, again, the issue kind of remains. The international court ruling remains. So technically, Cambodia can still claim it's theirs. I know Thai people may disagree, but that was the ruling of the International Court, so Cambodia is probably okay with making this deal. So the U.S. threatened Cambodia and Thailand with higher tariffs. Yeah, they said okay. And they decided to make peace. Now, in the second half of our program, we're going to talk about whether or not this is a good deal. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so we're talking about the deal between Thailand and Cambodia, as well as the U.S., and talking about whether or not it is a good deal. Okay, so first off, at least on its face, at least initially, you have to say it's a good deal, right? Because people are going to not fight. So there were people that died. There were actually even students that died when one of the Cambodian missiles hit a 7-Eleven in eastern Thailand. Not good. Well, people aren't going to die. Okay? That's a good thing. So in that sense, yes, it's a good deal. The problem is that it's not permanent. As I mentioned in the beginning, it does not resolve the main issue. The border dispute remains. There's nothing in the agreement that settles that. Also, the U.S. is really trying to take advantage of the situation. Which, even though I'm American, you'd think I'd be rooting for America. Yay, America. But honestly, the current president, again, I said I wasn't really going to take sides with him or not, but I have to be honest. He likes to try to take advantage of people. He's not an honest person. And so we see that with what he's doing with Thailand. He's kind of got Thailand cornered because of the whole tariff issue. We get back to those tariffs again. And so Thailand has to do something to make him happy. And so they reached a deal, and this is not really related to the Thailand-Cambodia thing, but it kind of is. It's all kind of related because it all comes back to the whole tariffs, trade, all that sort of stuff. And Thailand reached an agreement with the U.S. for mineral rights, like rare earth minerals. Now, maybe you don't know what that is, and honestly, I don't even know what all of them include, but it might be stuff like lithium for batteries or whatever. I don't even know exactly what elements it includes, but it's stuff that you dig up out of the ground that's hard to find in certain parts of the world. So maybe we don't have it in America, and Thailand does. So we're going to get the material from Thailand. And it's really not a very good deal for Thailand. And in fact, a lot of Thai people are angry about it. And this is kind of the game that America is playing. And the reason I mention that, as it relates to the Thailand and Cambodia deal, is it's the same thing. Yes, the mineral rights deal is entirely separate. But what I mean by it being the same thing is it comes from the same negotiation tactic. And that is that the U.S. is threatening Thailand. Higher tariffs, higher tariffs, higher tariffs, higher tariffs. You got to do something good for us, or else we're going to raise the tariffs even more. So that's the game that the United States is playing. And honestly, even though I am an American, it's not good. It's not good. So this whole thing, I don't really think it's great for Thailand. The Thai-Cambodia dispute really isn't resolved. It's just a temporary ceasefire. Again, I don't want to be I don't want to be so negative. Of course it's good that there's a ceasefire. Yes, absolutely. But again, it's not permanent. There's no solution. The dispute has not been solved. There's still disagreement between Thailand and Cambodia about the border, that border area there. And I think it actually hurts in terms of America's leadership, because you've got our president talking about it in a way which is unrealistic. For example, he has bragged about stopping 8 wars. He has not. Most of them aren't wars. Most of them aren't stopped. For example, he claims to have solved the war in Gaza between Israel and Palestine because they signed a ceasefire as well. The ceasefire has already been broken multiple times. That war is continuing. That war is still ongoing. And it was just a report yesterday, again, as I record this, it's late October, but there was a report just yesterday about Israel bombing parts of Gaza. Again, I'm not here to pick sides. I'm not going to say whether that's right or wrong, good or bad, who's right. All I'm saying is the war continues. And not only is he claiming to have stopped 8 wars, which he hasn't done, he hasn't solved any. He's solved a grand total of 0. This is probably the closest one, because they actually have stopped fighting. So ours here, the Cambodian-Thailand dispute, that's probably the closest he's come to solving a war. And even then, he brags, he overstates it. He literally said in a tweet that he sent out that it has saved millions of lives. Millions of lives? Seriously? This was not an all-out war. There aren't... I'm here in Bangkok. We don't have missiles landing in the middle of Silom or Sukhumvit that are being launched from Cambodia. This is not... It's a border dispute. There was not an all-out war. There weren't millions of lives saved with this peace deal. Tens of lives? Maybe. A few people will probably live that wouldn't have, so it's still a good thing. Like I said, I don't want to make it too negative. It's still a good thing, yes. But it's not some major breakthrough. It's a temporary ceasefire. That's it. So, is it a good deal? That's what I said we would talk about in the second part of the program. I will tell you that it's good in the sense that the fighting has stopped. Yes, that's always going to be good. People won't die. There aren't going to be people getting killed because the fighting's done. They've stopped fighting. But So again, I don't want to be too negative about it, but I will say that it's not that big of a breakthrough. It's not that big of a deal. And in that sense, it is kind of negative, because the border dispute continues. That is not resolved. The way the U.S. has done it is not very good. It's just basically through financial pressure, through the tariffs. And this is why I also brought up the mineral deal, because it was the same negotiating tactic. It was the same deal. And that's a negative for Thailand. They were basically forced into that. And so I don't think it helps the relationship between Thailand and the United States. I think it actually hurts our relationship. Now, some people might disagree. After all, we did come up with an agreement, right? We have this rare earth minerals agreement. Yay! So we agreed. That's a good thing for our relationship, right? The reason I say I don't think it is because Thailand was basically forced into it. Thailand got taken advantage of by the United States. It's not good. It's not good for our relationship. So overall, I don't think that getting back to the peace deal, because it came about from the same style of negotiations, that's why I talk about them both together. Overall, I don't think it's really a big deal. Am I going to say it's a bad thing? Well, the rare earths deal probably is, but the peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia, obviously I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. The fighting has stopped. That's a good thing. But I don't think it's a big deal, unfortunately. So on that, I do have to be kind of negative about it and say that it's not a big deal. Because, as I've said repeatedly, the main issue, the border dispute, is not resolved in that deal. So that deal happened only because Thailand and Cambodia were forced by the United States through financial pressure to make an agreement. And the agreement is only just to stop fighting. There's no resolution of the big issue. Okay, so that's the story. Sorry if I sound negative about that. I just want to be honest about what's going on. And that's just the way I see it. You can disagree. Maybe you think it's a wonderful thing. I don't know. But just from my perspective, I try to stay informed on the news. And that's the way I see it on that deal. All right. So overall, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. We have peace, at least temporarily, on the border. I just don't think it's a great deal. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it means much. The big issue with the border dispute is not resolved. It doesn't fix that. So that's my opinion on it. That's how I see it. All right, so that's our program for today. We're doing a very topical issue. That is, we're talking about current events. So if you're watching this in 2026, 2027, 2028, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. But we're recording this in late October of 2025, and we just had the signing of the deal between Thailand and Cambodia, and they signed that deal in Malaysia. And the reason it's related to America is because the American president was heavily involved in that. And so it was kind of a deal between all three of us, between Thailand, Cambodia, and the United States. It's kind of a deal between all of us. All right, so that is our topic for today. And that's it for today's program. All right, so thank you for joining us for our latest episode of An American in Thailand. Let me reach out to any of the young people out there who may be listening and ask them to consider our wonderful university here, RMUTP, Rajamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. Okay, please stay with us and tune back in next week for another interesting episode. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.